speaking from a reasonably cool office because we had the AC guy out today and the AC is working fine now. So we know things work when we believe they'll work, and they did. Today's reading is, once again, it needs some unpacking. I think the real secret is what Ernest Holmes says towards the end of this reading. Ernest Holmes is quoted a couple of times, and towards the end of the reading is an important statement by Ernest Holmes, so hang in there. Living by design or by default. That's pretty clear, right? Living by design or by default. The first quote is from Thich Nhat Hanh, who was the famous person. Well, he was actually well known around the world, I think. And he was the one who introduced the term mindfulness into the human consciousness. Mindfulness had always been there. I think Thich Nhat Hanh is the one who actually coined the name. Maybe he didn't, but he's the first one I heard it from. He says, at any moment, you have a choice that either leads you closer to your spirit or further away from it. At any moment, you have a choice that either leads you closer to your spirit or further away from it. And Ernest Holmes says, you are the center of power in your own life. You are the center of power in your own life. And that was from Creative Mind and Success on page 37. It's also some more quotes from him. Actually, 2 or 3 quotes from Holmes here. Ernest Holmes tells us that our belief sets the limit of our demonstration. The question isn't about God's willingness or God's ability. It is entirely a question of our receptivity. That is why we teach that prayer doesn't change God. It changes the one praying. It puts us in the receptive state. Think of your thoughts as seeds. What you think and feel, you will reap. Bob Proctor put it succinctly. You are a magnet. He means a magnet, thought magnet. That's what he's talking about for attracting things. Some of you know Bob Proctor was my late great mentor. Ernest Holmes wrote, life is for today. There will be no change for tomorrow unless we do the changing today. Today, we're setting in motion the power of tomorrow. That power is our consciousness. Consciousness sets the limits in our life. We live our lives from within and emanating outward. And as we said, that was Ernest Holmes. And then, this is Reverend Ron again here. Here's something that you can try. Name 3 things in your life you thought you could never do that you've done. As our consciousness deepens, what we see from life changes. So my challenge to you and to me is, hey, let's write down 3 or more things that we didn't think we could ever do, which we have done. I can think of 3 things right off the bat now. But the first one is traveling the world, living here, marrying somebody who supported me for a long time, and becoming a minister. Those are some things right off the cuff. I'm sure there's a lot more. Now, this is where we got to be really careful. You create your own reality. What life shows you is what you expect. If you expect good things, that is what will show up in your life. So expect the good. In fact, expect great things to show up in your life. Ernest Holmes tells us this is the key. If you believe absolutely that you can do a certain thing, a way will always be open for you to do it. If also you believe that time will have to elapse, then you're making a new law, and time will have to elapse. So to my mind, that's the key. Ernest Holmes absolutely encapsulates it here. If you believe absolutely that you can do a certain thing, a way will always be open for you to do it. If also you believe that time will have to elapse, then you're making a new law, and time will have to elapse. He means you're creating a new condition for the thing to happen. That's what he's talking about there. So to me, I mean, that's absolutely the key, because it's extremely misleading to say that you create your own reality. As I said yesterday, because it's complicated. Do you create your own reality? Yes. But it's, as I said, it's complicated because you're intermingling with lots of other human minds who are also consciously or unconsciously creating their own reality. And let's face it, a huge proportion of the human race is unconsciously creating the reality. Stuff that's gone on in the past is still in here, and it's still influencing the way we think and we feel. And it often does it at a subconscious level, and we don't know it's going on. And this is the reason why we tell people to do their spiritual work and to do things like affirmations, spiritual mind treatment, meditation. This is why we encourage people to do that, because that starts to change all the stuff that's in here, and you start to be influenced by the good stuff that's in your subconscious mind. But here they're talking about consciously creating, and belief is thought plus feeling. We've talked about this so many times. Belief is thought plus feeling. That is what creates your reality. However, as I said, it's complicated because it's intermingled with lots of other people's consciousnesses, and goodness knows throughout the universe. But the other thing is this: sometimes what you want is not always going to be the best for you. It will not be for your highest and best good. We think we want something, we really desperately want it, but it may or may not be for your highest good. So that is why when I pray, I leave it open-ended in respect to the fact that I say this or something better, because I believe that there's a higher intelligence that knows better than I do what is best for me. So yes, I focus absolutely on what I want, but at the same time, I leave it open-ended by saying this or something better. And the example we quote is easy. If you say, I want that house on that street and nothing else, then first of all, there are people living there who may not want to move. Secondly, if you end up getting it, who knows what the house is like? It may be in the wrong neighborhood for you ultimately. It may be not a good house. You never know. But if you say, I want a house like that, very similar to that, in a neighborhood like that, and that is what you put into the universal subjective mind, that is what you will get when you really, as Ernest Holmes said, absolutely believe it. So I always leave it open-handed. Bob Proctor recommended to leave it open-ended. Jesse Jennings my senior minister, recommends to leave it open-ended. And any teacher worth their salt will tell you that when you pray, leave it open-ended and allow an intelligence that's far greater than yours to bring to you what is the perfect thing for you. Now that is my message for today. Now, you know, I don't like long-winded affirmations. That's why I split them up. I set the intention to live a life of purpose and love. I set the intention to live a life of purpose and love. I release all thoughts that are not in alignment with my heart's desire. I release all thoughts that are not in accordance and not in alignment with my heart's desire. I know as my consciousness deepens, so does my experience in life. I know as my consciousness deepens, so does my experience in life. I recommend that you pick one of those and concentrate on it. I set the intention to live a life of purpose and love. I release all thoughts that are not in alignment with my heart's desire. Because oftentimes, Ernest Holmes warned about this, that you get all excited, you put the thoughts in mind as to what you want, and then 10 minutes later, you find yourself dozing off or wandering off into a negative area, which absolutely blots out what it is that you were trying. It negates it, So the message is, think about what you want, put thoughts and feeling around it, and when you pray, when you do your affirmations, really let it be open-ended. Say this or something better. And guess what? That is what you will get, and it will be the perfect thing for you. Reverend Lisa, my colleague, who's on tomorrow morning on Creative Life Spiritual Center's Facebook page, will tell you exactly the same if you ask her. She may tell it you in a different way, but our teaching remains constant. Thoughts plus feelings equal beliefs equal our reality. So until next time, from a wonderfully cool office, namaste.